Can we talk about why everyone is so far left and right? Why is it so hard to find or hold common ground? This has been something that I have talked about quite extensively, about hating the Republicans. Whenever I talk about how like liberals actually love the Republicans, they want to hug and kiss the Republicans, or they want to be Republicans, and that's what's really frustrating. But here, if you want to understand like where I'm coming from, here, this is a podcast called The Necessary Conversation. These two podcasters talk to their mom and dad that are Trump supporters. Okay, let's take a look.
No, it's because you're in a cult.
What if Donald Trump says, I want you to carpet bomb Oklahoma City, everyone? You think the Air Force should carry that out?
Yes.
There might be a reason. We don't know.
This is insane.
You cannot be this stupid. Jesus Christ.
Oh, my. This podcast was going well until that.
You just said it's cool if he levels Oklahoma. You're like, yeah, it. There must be a reason. Like, you literally can't be that dumb.
You know what the problem is? Mom and I don't believe he'll ever blow up Oklahoma because we're on his side and so's the whole state.
No, it's because you're in a cult.
You guys are worried and afraid because you live in a state where it might happen.
I think people that like my first inclination that this because of how freakish this commentary is that it's rage bait and it's fake, right? And as far as I understand, I mean, I'm going to interview these guys at a later date, okay, to try to get a better assessment on if it's scripted or if it's like exaggerated or not. But I will just say that at least talking to people that I know that do have MAGA parents, conversations such as this one do take place at the dinner table or, you know, during Thanksgiving, like not dissimilar to the one that you are going to hear. Now, first he says, oh, he's not going to bomb Oklahoma, but you guys are afraid because he might bomb California. So he shifts gears. Listen.
Okay, let's theoretically say that does happen. Let's say Trump sends in the Marines to Los Angeles, California, and let's say I'm out going to see a movie on a weekend, and he says, go into that shopping mall.
Under a truck.
Quiet piggy. He says, go into that shopping mall and kill everyone you see. And let's say I get gunned down by the Marines for just being at a mall.
Okay, number one,
All four.
let's just take
Okay,
it
Dad,
one step
wait a minute,
further.
Mom, wait 1 second. Wait 1 second. Dad,
wait.
hang on, Mom. Dad, you just said you are for Donald Trump murdering me for no reason, and you would support that.
If he walks into a mall to people with military,
There has to be a reason.
there's a reason. And I'm all for it. And the people in Los Angeles, California are as deserving of execution as the assholes in New York City. You're all communists.
Chatters with immediate family members that are deeply invested in the MAGA cult can maybe attest to this, but more and more people are saying things like this in the countryside, in the rural areas, in places where Donald Trump has made a lasting impact. And what is really funny is for those of you who don't know this podcast at all, they go, did he just say mom and dad? And the answer is yes. Okay. To which I repeated, I don't think we can live normally in a country where 20% of the population operates like this. We need cult deprogramming. Okay. And if you recall, the last time I talked about this was once again, where liberals got so mad at me for saying that we need some kind of deprogramming and education for people. They said, oh, you want re-education camps. Now I'm seeing more and more people who previously were liberal or liberal adjacent also coming to that reality, coming to that recognition. I'm seeing it more and more often. More and more often, I'm seeing people go, oh, I kind of understand why there is a necessity for some kind of education procedure, because this cult, if left to its own devices, is not exactly tenable with having a nation state. Like, you can't really have a country if 20% of the population straight up thinks like, yeah, no, all the commies deserve it, including my own children. And this is not like, this is something that, this is why college isn't free law. I mean, it's part of it. Yeah, it's part of it for sure. I think a less educated population, I don't even think re-education camps would work for those kinds of people. What do you do with that kind of hog? You just really hammer it over and over again that, this kind of sentiment is completely inconsistent with the shared values that we're supposed to maintain as a nation state. That's all you got to do, and hope for the best. You can't save everybody, but that shouldn't stop you from trying to save as many people as possible. But this is once again something that I talk about all the time. This is a byproduct of creating a malleable population because they are not educated, because you paywalled education, because all the K through 12 education is paywalled, or not paywalled necessarily, but the public schooling system is completely in a dire state of disrepair. Okay. There is a massive class disparity in educational attainment and educational outcomes in general. And that creates an environment of servants of empire, not very, an environment where there's a lot of people who are just not very intelligent. And people who are stupid are malleable. They're easy to manipulate. But when it gets to a certain point where you have 20% of the population that is so firmly invested in the MAGA cult that is at the mercy, at the whims of one madman like Donald Trump, who has time and time again shown that he will do whatever the he wants to do, no matter what the repercussions are. Even if the repercussions of his actions are directly impacting people like that, directly impacting people in the MAGA cult, like you have to do something about it. This is me asking because I genuinely don't even know how to begin this process, but assuming nothing else changes about the country other than like an establishment Dem gets elected after Trump, assuming we have elections again, what does deprogramming look like to you? Check logs, please. I can't get into it right now. That's a much longer conversation that could take place at a later date. But the reason why I brought that up is because someone asked. Like, why can't we find moderation? If 20% of the country, right, just 20%, I'm not saying 20% of the country thinks this way and is basically at the mercy of a complete madman, right? With cult-like zealotry that they demonstrate over and over again. And then the other 20% on top of that is basically like agnostic to it, where they're like, I don't really care as long as my taxes are, as long as I feel like the country is moving in a positive direction under the watchful eye of this Republican movement, and I don't really care that much about immigrants or whatever. How do you find moderation? How do you find the golden mean with those guys? Okay? How do you do that? I don't think it's possible. And I think a lot of liberals end up coming to the conversation with this honest naivete, with this honest assessment where they think, no, like there has to be some kind of back and forth here where we can just find a reasonable middle ground. As the middle ground shifts further and further right from under their legs every single day, someone needs to pull at least the middle ground back to the actual center. And that's never going to happen unless you have more overt, openly leftist people in positions of prominence actively speaking about this shit. Okay? That's it. It's not going to happen, which is part of the reason why I never, I as a policy refuse to actively left bash, even though many people to my left, if there is really someone to my left, let's be real, I don't personally think so, but people with like ideological differences or ideological delineations that claim to be further left than myself will yell at me, but I usually do not return the favor. And the reason why I don't do that is because I think they play an important role in pulling the broader consciousness back to a place of reason, a place of common sense. Breaking news, communists not more left than HasanAbi? Yes. Your crooked con monologue in counter messaging is gaining traction
Republicans,
again?
they act as though there is an election every single day. They are constantly on message. They're constantly creating an alternative reality with lies, saying that undocumented migrants are actually responsible for a metric ton of the crimes that are taking place in American cities, when that is an abject lie, okay? And when I talk to congresspersons, whether it be at the DNC or even before, even after, and I tell them, why the aren't you guys counter messaging against this? We are a nation of immigrants. America is the most diverse nation on the planet. It is literally the reason why we are such a domineering force beyond all these other, beyond all the other, violent reasons. But like that is one of the most redeemable aspects of America that I personally love, that the Democrats completely dropped because they were scared. They saw that one poll from the Pew Center of Research that said that 66% of Americans want mass deportations. That exact same poll also showed that if given two options, mass deportation and mass amnesty, that the majority always chose mass amnesty. So why is that never communicated? Because Americans, sure, the median voter, trying to understand where the median voter is coming from is impossible, okay? You will kill yourself if you try to understand what these people are thinking.
You just lost me, Hasan. I was with you halfway through that, but you lost me. But I'm with you.
But what I'm trying to say is this, okay? There are Trump supporters out there, okay, that have been deluded into thinking that Donald Trump represented a change, and obviously we saw that buyer's remorse this past Tuesday, right? Especially in Hispanic communities where they were like, oh, I can't believe that he is actually doing mass deportation. And it's you know, we're in D.C., this is a fairly liberal crowd, and we laugh at those people, but like I talk to those people every day, and there were people that genuinely thought, they genuinely believed that Donald Trump was actually excising the violent criminals. And the only reason why people are led to believe this lie, aside from the faucet of misinformation that comes from independent outlets on the right and also Fox News as well, is because there is no robust response from the Democratic Party that says that's a lie. That's a lie. Undocumented migrants in this country are responsible for a lower rate of per capita crime than natural-born U.S. citizens are. If you pair that up with documented migrants, it's negligible. It is marginal, and they're hyper-focusing on it specifically because this is a vulnerable population that is easy to target and it's easy to ridicule, and there is not enough of a robust defense mechanism out there. And that's the reason why people end up believing this bullshit, and then they get shocked when it's actually implemented. Republicans...
Yep. I'm going to repost it again. I mean, this is not the first, nor will it be the last time I address this, and I will continue addressing it over and over again. And when people say, Hasan, why do you keep repeating yourself, or why do you keep debating people over and over again on stuff like this? It's because I still believe that every single time I have this kind of conversation, there are new people that listen and new people that go, you know what, this guy is making sense. Especially when attitudes change, right? Or when people start seeing the impact of things that they thought were going to be good for the country, and then they realize maybe it's not good for the country at all. Sometimes it also helps movement veterans to hear the arguments again too. Yes.